Hi, and welcome to Lights of the Round Table. My name is Susanna, and today we're going to be talking about becoming or not a sovereign man or woman. With me, I brought Lee Parker. Now, Lee Parker is the producer to freedomradio.us. If you have heard of Brent Johnson, he's a constitutionalist. His expertise has always been common law trusts, NPAs, and what else? I think a few other things like, protect asset protection. That's right. And so she's been with him for about 30 years or so. So thank you very much, Lee, for coming because you are a sovereign woman and she is going to explain how she became one. And then I have, of course, Kirk Pendergrass. He is an ex-Marine who served this country honorably. And I don't know anybody else better than him who knows the processes of the law according to original jurisdiction, and he can clarify that better than me. It's not my bailiwick, but Kirk has a great show called Kirk's Law Corner. So thank you both for coming here today on such an important topic because people are really nervous about what's happening in the country. They've been looking for answers. Nobody wants to be part of the system and they're trying to get out. So Lee, why don't we start with you? Why did you become a sovereign and how?
Well, that's a very long topic, Susanna. First of all, I'd like to give a definition of sovereignty. Okay, in the concept of sovereignty, I am the ruler of my life below God, Yahweh. Government is not above me, but government is beneath me. I am at the top of the pyramid. Now, it isn't that way now these days. Government, it's inverted. Government is on top, and we, the people, are under the footprint of government. And being sovereign means that my successes are because I have succeeded. I've worked hard, and I have. I have been diligent, and I have. I have survived, and I have very well, thank you very much, without going to the government to take care of me. If I need help, if I need guidance, I go to Yahweh, to God, to my prince, to my minister, to the Bible, but I don't go to government. And I don't take anything from them. As a sovereign, I am an individual unto myself, and I am responsible for my own life. If I fail, oh well, gotta pick myself up, move forward, and correct it. So when I was Well, I just so everyone knows, I love my age. I'm 77 years old. When I was 45, I became sovereign, 32 years. When I was 16 and I went to work, in those days, we didn't have numbers when we were born. You had to go and apply for one. And I remember the day I was told that I had to get a number or I couldn't get a job. And I went into the Social Security office. They gave me the routine. They gave me a number. Memorize this number and don't give it to anyone. It is not to be used for identity. The whole rap they gave in those days. I hated the number. I hated the concept because to me, that number is like a cow tag in the ear. Okay. I'm not my father's child. I'm the government's property. 9 digits. And what they don't tell you when you have that number is that you have volunteered to remove your constitutionally protected rights. Now, your rights come from God, and Brent will tell you this this is what I've learned through the years. Your rights come from God. Government cannot take them from you, but you can give them away. And when you take their number, that's exactly what happens. The Constitution does not apply to you. You are government issue. And Kirk would agree. He knows what that means. You are GI. This is why they can regulate you. They can tell you everything. They can tell you what to do, how to live. when you have to retire, if you can do this, if you can do that. And I object because I don't need someone to tell me what's right and wrong. I know. I know in my heart. I know through scripture. I know through myriad means. So I don't need the government to look after me. I don't need it to be my nanny. I don't need a nanny. So when I found out about sovereignty and jurisdiction, and that by having the number, the government actually had jurisdiction over me and my body, I just had a fit. I had a cow. And I would learn from a different book. And I threw that book across the room a number of times, saying, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. I knew there was something about that number I didn't like. And now I know why. So I gave them back their number. I took back my property that they took under fraud to give me the number because they didn't tell me that I was actually giving up my rights. And I went about life. In the years that have passed, I have a passport with no social security number on it. I have credit cards. At one time, I had a bank account, but then the banking industry decided after 9/11 that because if I didn't have a number, there was something wrong with me. And I was probably some form of laundering money, all $25. Go figure. But I've lived very well. And I didn't become sovereign to get out of anything, like getting out of paying taxes. It wasn't about paying taxes or not paying taxes. It was about, am I required to pay the tax? And I have not paid federal income tax or state income tax for 32 years. Mm-hmm. And that's how it all began. I guess I just was ornery from the day I was born, and it all came full circle.
Yeah, we have forgotten that we are first and foremost more important than the government. And most people, the way they talk today is, I want to get out the system. And they have totally lost the ideology that they're the most important. Your self-respect, self-dignity, that you come first, not the government. So
we are the people.
Correct. But when did you change, and what was a process that you did do to get out of the system? I'm sorry I keep relating to that, but this is the way that most people communicate nowadays.
Well, see, as sovereign, and our founding fathers actually set this in motion, I don't ask the government for my sovereignty. I tell the government that I'm a natural born American citizen. The state I was born in, the date I was born on, the time I was born on. I am my own person. And so in 92, when I actually did this, we just submitted 3 papers, one to the IRS, one to the Social Security number, or to the Social Security Administration, and the deed was done. I actually had a payment plan that I was on, and that disappeared because they no longer had jurisdiction. The jurisdiction comes through the number. And so it was a very simple process. And so to me, using federal forms to petition my sovereignty is like an oxymoron. I don't petition the government. I tell the government that I am sovereign, and therefore I stand on that. And we were raided by the IRS. 7 years later, we got letters, you are no longer a party of interest. At that time, they wanted to find something that they could throw us in jail and scare other people, because fear is their only weapon, their major and really only weapon. So it's what we have done in claiming our sovereignty is proven through time, because we're still here and we're still speaking the truth. And that's what they cannot do. They cannot tell you the truth. They operate through fear. They tell you lies, and they expect you to go along. That's why we are where we are right now. People bought the lie.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Kirk, let me, one moment. Somebody has an audio open, please. Unmute you. Please mute yourself. Thank you. So, Kirk, let's get back to what does it entail to become sovereign, and what does it mean to you, and what is it that you're teaching people? Because I think that we have lost the notion of what this country is. We have a constitution, nobody's studying, nobody really understands what it is. We don't even know what the word self-governance means, truly inside. So you take it.
Well, I love Lee over there. She's a rock star. She don't take nothing from nobody. I know this might be for kids, so watch our tongue here. But I'm a Marine Corps veteran here, construction mechanic. So sometimes I slip with certain words, but that's the thing is we're endowed by our Creator. Okay, our Creator is the sovereign. Sovereign means the power to create. So if we're creations of God, right? Good old handy Bible here. That's the good book. That's the real law. Okay. The root of all law comes right from there. And everything is built on top of that. That has to be the bedrock, the foundation that everything is purposely built for. But who is it built by? It's built by man. So here we get into God is the sovereign. He is the creator. And we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And I know a lot of people don't quite comprehend why it's pronounced unalienable and why our founders created it or stated it as unalienable, is when you comprehend that our rights from God, from the laws of nature, is actually our property. Okay, rights are property. And that's why it's sometimes referred to as a common law trespass, because they're actually trespassing on our property. Now, I don't care what's made by any man. This is still fundamental, and everything is to be built on top of it, and anything that comes in conflict with that is void for any effect for fraud.
Amen.
And it's supposed to be self-evident, right? Like, do you have to hit your thumb with a hammer to know that it's going to hurt? That kind of self-evident. So to apply this even to some persons that we might refer to, such as father, mother, okay, and notice the choice of words, okay, not parent and child, because that's under the Roman civil law, parens patriae, where the state is the parent, which is what the birth certificate, social security number stuff is, and I'll explain that here in a minute. But so father and mother are persons. They are the sovereign over what they create, which is their sons and daughters, not children. So that diction, jurisdiction, the words I'm using is diction, puts you under what body of law? So it's, this is part of what they're not teaching us in school is proper diction. What these words actually mean, they want to teach us parent, child, and, we all just go right along with it, not knowing the truth and the proper diction to use. So the mother and father are the sovereign over that which they create. Okay. Likewise, with a man or woman who creates a business entity, they are the sovereign over that which they create. Now, when we're talking government, this is where we get into the birth certificate. They're claiming that they're the sovereign over that which they create. Hale versus Henkel says there's a clear distinction between a corporation and an individual. And then it later talks about how there's a reserved right in the legislature to do an investigation into the laws of its creation. Oh, wait a minute. God's law says man is created by God. The state's law, this corporate fiction, it's an artificial construct. It's fraud, right? This is that straw man. They're able to do this through the straw man, which is otherwise they would not be able to accomplish. And it's all based on fraud, because we go back to contract law 101. Was there a meeting of the minds? Was there full disclosure? Was there an offer, an acceptance? Was there what's the basically it's a time to consider a consideration.
Mhm.
And then is it mutually beneficial? The answer to all that is no. And according to the statutes at large regarding fraud, it only takes one of those to vitiate the contract. So clearly, the birth certificate is a fraud, which was created in 1913, part of the third and final bankruptcy and the setup, even going clear back to the Sestake Trust Act of 1666. This is kind of how long this has been in the planning to enslave the entire world. So that's the creature of the state under Roman civil law, which is, we have an ideological conflict here between America, the nation, and Great Britain, is that they have a monarchy and we have a republic. Now, monarchy is under Catholicism, which is the ideology that the king is the sovereign, or in essence, the Pope, right? Oh, I'm God in the flesh. No, I don't think so. You're delusional. This is how they're taking and gaining personal jurisdiction, and then they use force and violence against us and fear. If we don't, comply, they'll just either throw us in jail, lock us up, or even go so far as murdering us. So a lot of it is people are too afraid, even when they do learn about the facts, how to, they don't know how to stand up against the tyrants, the tyranny.
Yeah.
And so, I've learned to start doing paperwork, because that's the key. And that's the first fundamental principle of due process of law, is notice an opportunity to respond.
Yep.
We got to follow due process of law.
Yep. But that's not something that is being taught, and it has not been taught for decades. When did this country become a corporation? Was it 1933 or before 1907, 1876, 1871?
1871 with the Reconstruction Acts, and they created the District of Columbia, which is basically the part of the Tri-City states, London, Vatican, and District of Columbia. Became a foreign occupied territory, and they created the acts of the District of Columbia, creating an independent sovereign nation state, and then basically ushered in the bar under the Crown Temple bar of the International Bar Association. In 1878, created the American Bar Association, and then they ushered in in 1881 this code of civil procedure, which the code is the Roman civil law.
And that's the catch-22, isn't it? Because
Yes.
I have a feeling that I don't know much about state nationals, but how to become a sovereign. We've discussed several times or several ways of how to become sovereign. And like Lee said, just go to the IRS. I think there's a form there called 2288, where you can sort of change your mail. And so now all your mail that comes in caps goes to the Treasury Department. But that part I'm starting to investigate a little bit, and I'm not quite sure how that works. But going back to state nationals, I've looked into that, and I'm looking to the state of affairs of our current situation here in the United States. Everything is plummeting. Everything must crash down. And with that, not only goes the finance, not only goes the energy sector, but with it, the government. And by the time that we rebound ourselves, it's going to be 10%. Their claim we're going to be about 10%. 90% of it is going away. And the other thing I learned is that with that, all U.S. codes go away too.
That's
so
right.
Therefore, my question is, why would anybody consider to become a state national when you're using common law and at the same time, U.S. codes to something that is not, I cannot even find state national definitions in the US code. You have to go to immigration. It says something, but never together, state nationals. So why are people getting so confused as to this when it should be something simple? You should be.
You would think, but I'm a logical man, and I always ask questions. Okay, national. First of all, where are you getting that from? Oh, well, United States Code over here says national. Okay, what does it define as a national? Oh, well, it's a citizen of the United States or a citizen of a state, right? Okay, that's your two different options. So my next question is what's a citizen? And where are you going to go get the definition from that? Because now we're talking about a status from within a nation. So I go to the root of the law, which is called the Law of Nations, written by Emer D. Vattel, Book 1, Chapter 19, subsection 212. What is a citizen? Now, just for those that are or may not be aware, part of the Constitution where it talks about the qualifications to run for office of president says natural born citizen. That's the definition that's referred to is from the Law of Nations is Book 1, Chapter 19, subsection 212, and says Vattel. Okay, so let's go read that. Oh, that's a member, there's your first keyword, of a civil society who is bound. That's the second keyword. So member and bound to perform certain duties and is subject to its authority. So another couple of key words there, its authority. So when we go and read Article 6, Clause 3, it says, all the aforementioned senators and representatives and members, there's the first keyword, members, of the state legislature, all of the executive, all of the judicial, both state and federal, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. Okay, so a citizen essentially is a city servant or civil servant. And they're the ones that are bound by the Constitution. So if you're not a member of the legislative, executive, or judicial branch, you're not a citizen. So therefore, national, according to the United States Code, is when you become an elected official or appointed in a position of public trust and are bound by the Constitution, you automatically gain this title as national. You, technically speaking, cannot change your status to a national by reading what it says as it is written. But then you're looking at this is from the United States Code. Well, show me the law. There isn't. It's all code, the Roman civil law. The second part is how many people are aware of what's called etymology, origin of words. Where does it come from? Sometimes a lot of our English language words, obviously, come from other languages, either French or Latin or German, Scottish. Our English language is relatively a new language in comparison to other languages in the world. So etymology is a great place to look up words and find out what the origin was and how it translated from this language to this language to this language into and what it means. So you punch in national and what does it say? Oh, as a noun, didn't come into being in existence until 1887. Or was it 1870? Wow. So I'm scratching my head going, wait a minute. That's after the Reconstruction Act. So national didn't exist until after the Reconstruction Act. And you can only find it in the code. That should be a ding, 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 ding. Hello. Okay. People need to study and read and learn to do research on their own because
Amen.
We're so easily deceived by somebody saying, oh yeah. Look how many hundreds of thousands of people have out there said, oh, I'm an American state national.
What is
that?
I
can't even find American state national anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
I have
But I've
one for
done
you.
lots of research on historical documents, even before the Magna Carta. Coming forward from the Magna Carta forward, all I can find is inhabitants, which, by the way, is section 213, right after citizen in book 1, chapter 18, defines who inhabitants are. But inhabitants, people, and citizen. So primarily, that's all that it actually exists. There's no such thing as an American state national. Now, we can claim that we are an American, and that's a nationality, not national. Okay? So we are fundamentally first Americans. Otherwise, we are man, creation of God, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And again, back to the lien part of that and the property part, is that the definition or etymology of a lien is to hold some property until the debt is paid. Gee, why did our founders say that? Because I don't know. Maybe because they were doing bills of attainder and bills of pains and penalties. And maybe they were holding our rights until we paid this debt. And so that's why our founders did what they did. And I'll even go clear back, founder, clear back to the Magna Carta, which is exactly what the Magna Carta was about, the Great Charter of Liberty. Because what I've discovered in Bouvet's Law Dictionary 1856, under law, civil, oh, that's the Roman civil law, the code, the Pandex, blah, 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 blah. This was all lost back in 600 AD, okay? And then it says, oh, well, it's opposed to the law of nations, the laws of nature, and the common law. And then it says it's all enforced through bills of pains and penalties. Well, hello, let's put these pieces of the puzzle together and go, wait a minute, this is what's going on. And why our founders said unalienable rights, so that you can't place a lien upon them, and no bills of attainder. Article 1, Section 9, federal, Article 1, Section 10, no bills of attainder.
I have
Amazing.
something for Kirk.
Yep.
Kirk, I have something for you.
Yeah.
Okay. As sovereign, I am a private citizen, a capital P and a capital C. Now, in the state of California, I don't know exactly when Brent does all the quote.
Wait, you're muted. You muted yourself by accident, my dear.
I sure did. Okay. Thank you. So, in the state of California, they have a law that talks about dueling. Now, it's a relatively recent law. It's I think in the 1970s. And it talks about dueling. And it has two laws. One with a capital P for private, a capital C for citizen. They have exactly the same law next to it with a lowercase p and a lowercase c. I am a private citizen. In addition to that, the Supreme Court has adjudicated that, and it's not been reversed, that anything that is private is non-taxable. That's why you don't have private property. Your property is designated under commercial terms because the Constitution gives government control over commerce, and they use it to tax the property. You don't own your property. So I'm a private citizen, and I wear that. I carry that. I am that. And so you don't push me around. You're right, Kirk. You don't push me around. I'm only 5'1.5", but let me tell you, you don't push me around.
Right.
No. So check that one out, Kirk, when you have a chance. I think you'll find it fascinating.
Well, I'm a stickler for proper diction in words. A capital letter means proper. So in propria persona, and then reading the law of nations under inhabitant, it is a lowercase c that we want to be. As an inhabitant, we're a different type of citizen, that American. Okay. And we're automatically in the private per the laws of nature, as well as that dueling. There are 6 primitive laws of nature, and one of them is that we're not supposed to be mutilating ourselves nor dueling. Okay. So I am man, creation of God, and I'm an American. So I would be considered a private citizen as an inhabitant, not a citizen as in capital C, as in an elected official. I'm not bound by the Constitution, so I can't be a citizen. And like I said, in our historical documents, we have 3 different distinctions. We got the inhabitants, the people, and the citizens. That's it. So take your choice. Do you want to be the inhabitant? Do you want to be one of the people having political power? Or do you want to be an elected official as a citizen? You have the choice. Even the law of nations right there, it says when the child becomes of age, it's up to him to declare his status. So this is where all we have to do is do an affidavit declaring our status, that I am man, creation of God. Do whatever your status is. And then you file that with the Secretary of State. You turn around, you get a certified copy from the Secretary of State, and you carry that around as your ID.
Is that's
it
for now? I mean, dealing with a corporation.
That's how you want to change your status. You can't actually change your status from I am man, creation of God, because the Bible dictates that. You can't change your status to that. It's already that status. It's about coming of age and declaring your status, because that's declare is D, down, lay down. Clarify, you're writing it down. You're declaring, you're laying down the law.
Okay, but Kirk, but not every, okay, so let's go back a little bit to the constitutions, because, okay, we're talking 1871. Not all, we didn't have 50 states. They weren't built. We didn't have 50 states in 1871. That means that many of the constitutions to many of those states are actually new. Therefore, if I go and write a affidavit and send that and claim my status to the Secretary of State, how do I know they're going to honor that?
Because we declare it, and it's recorded that way.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
They have to honor it, because again, we are the sovereign. We don't seek permission from them.
That's right. That's right.
We tell them, we declare this. And when you get a certified copy from the Secretary of State, that's good everywhere. You know, my buddy Tony Pellegrino, he actually did it through the county recorder's office, and he used that to get on a plane to fly from Idaho to Pennsylvania. You know, he never had a driver's license, never had any kind of picture ID from the state.
Okay. So why the confusion? Why there's such a big push to become something that is not true? You know, your 80% truth versus with a 20% lies is a 20% that is the catch-22 to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think that it's become a fad. I think it's become the way to go. It's been marketed. It's been sold. They have a process. You go to the courses, you pay for the courses. Basically what Kirk is saying and what we do the same process for $250 US, and that includes a consultation with Brent to explain the program. Okay, you can get the paperwork that we used in the back of his book, The American Sovereign. Okay, freedom. What do they call us all these years? Patriots. P-A-Y. Patriots. And so everyone is doing it because their neighbor is doing it. And this is the danger, because they are doing something that they haven't ingrained, like Kirk has, like you have, like I have, within your soul. Because let me tell you, when you do that, and I have been stopped. Yes, Kirk, I use an international driver's permit. I don't have a state issued anything. Okay. I don't have a number attached to me. Okay. But I do use an international driver's permit because the guy on the street with the funny lights on his car doesn't know the difference either. And I don't want to fight with him. And this placates him, gets me out of a situation. I was stopped 5 times over the years in Texas. Was never once issued a citation because they couldn't, because it comes back to jurisdiction. But that's because I studied. Yes, Kirk, we did our research. We knew what we were doing. And these people, I fear for them because they are doing what someone has told them to do. Now, many of them have go through the courses and they do learn, but they can't stand for themselves.
No.
And if you go into court and you say, oh, well, I'm doing this because Kirk Law Corner told me to do it. You know, what does the judge say? $250. Next.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have it in your soul, don't do it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're a bad person. That means you're not ready. That's my concern for the people who are going through this course. And the last I heard, I spoke with someone that they have 22 million people who have sent in their affidavits.
Well, they're doing way more than affidavits. They're trying to repudiation and all that stuff, and like what I asked them out there, I'm like, okay, fraud vitiates everything from its inception, right? Okay, we all understand that. So why do I have to actively engage in the fraud to get out of the fraud when fraud vitiates everything from its inception, void ab initio?
Thank you.
It all falls on its face from right there.
Exactly.
So I don't have to do anything.
But you have to understand that. You have to understand the concepts of jurisdiction in order to stand for the jurisdiction you are under, you claim. Yeah. And that's the missing link from what I'm seeing. And I am scared for these people. I talked to a woman just this last week. She went through the old redemption process, Kirk, of the 90s. Okay. She was driving, no plates on her car. Okay. No documentation whatsoever. She got pulled over. They surrounded her car with police. They pinned her in. They literally pulled her out of the car and arrested her because she was doing what someone else told her to do. She hadn't thought it through. Gee whiz, not having plates on your car is like, like, come get me, here I am. Our theory is.
Mute yourself again.
Thank you. That's very sensitive. Okay. Be like an ant. Just blend in. And when you need your strength, it will be there. But don't go out there and charge, unless you're a Marine, to the top of the mountain. We love our Marines. But, just go about life.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, this is where I finally have gotten to, where I don't have plates on my car, haven't had a driver's license for some time, and literally sitting here working on paperwork to respond to their scheme, scam, and fraud. But I've been studying for 28 years. Okay. Now I'm getting to the point where I'm ready to start literally going into battle with my double-edged sword, and I'm going to cut them down because I have enough knowledge now and experience. Okay. I mean, we're talking close to probably 50 times I've been arrested and in and out of jail. Okay. So I've got school of hard knocks here. There ain't no better school than the school of hard knocks.
Amen.
And I've learned their tricks. Okay. So technically speaking, as of right now, the last 4 cases I've had have been dismissed. So right now it's 4-0. See, I'm winning now, not losing. I haven't lost one in the last 4. So now I'm starting to go after them, which is part of what what I've been working on for the last 5, almost 6 years, is going after the bar. And now I've discovered this Roman civil law, the code, and the Communist Lawyers Guild, the CRIS which is the court registry information system, and following the Trump administration, the executive orders, and what's been going on, and trying to tell people and educate people as things were coming out, starting clear back in 2017 when I started doing lives on Facebook, was laying this stuff out as it was coming out. And the number one executive order is 13818, blocking the property of those involved in serious human rights abuse and corruption worldwide. Okay? It's been extended twice now by Biden, supposedly.
Theoretically.
Yeah. So the fact is that's what's going on worldwide. They're being rounded up, sent to Gitmo. Some of them already have been executed. Whether people believe that or not is irrelevant. I don't care if you believe me or not. I happen to have a little bit of inside knowledge about what's going on because I've been part of it. So I know what's going on. At least a smidgen, right? So this is the key, is trying to educate the people on, the proper words to use. And sometimes it's zip your mouth and don't say nothing. I don't answer any questions. That's actually the best advice that I could give to anybody. Zip your mouth and don't say anything. I don't answer any questions. And really, can anything I say be used against me in a court of law? Well, yeah. Okay. I evoke my right to remain silent, and I do not answer any questions. And just sit there.
And if they try to engage you in conversation, don't say anything.
The rule of three. You can even go so far again. And what you're actually doing is Mirandizing ourselves, right? Can anything I say be used against me in a court of law? Well, yeah. Well, I evoke my right to remain silent, and I don't answer any questions. And it's the rule of three. Just because, they may have heard you the first time. Maybe they're just too stupid to hear it. And you have to tell them 3 times. And after you tell them 3 times and they still don't get it, they're done. But technically speaking, the first time is good enough. But it is the rule of 3. And what that is it's a test of their sanity. Because if you have to tell a man 3 times, he's not of sound mind. So the first time you tell him, and they go, okay, what? They don't know what to do. And you get some knuckleheads out there who seem to think that they can just do whatever they want, which is where I'm at with what I'm at. I'm like, oh, you're one of those ones that has to learn the hard way. Okay, you want to play hardball with me? You want to play this game of you're going to do what you want, catch you if I can? I've got plenty of experience and knowledge now. I do know how to catch you. So you want to play that game with me? Let's go.
I was saying in my office, you'll love this, Kirk. I have a placard in my office that says, go ahead, underestimate me. This will be fun. They have underestimated us as a people.
Yeah.
They have underestimated our gut and our desire for truth and liberty. It is reigniting through the efforts of Kirk, through Susanna's efforts, through our efforts. And the key to me is how can we encourage people to move forward, to disconnect from the evil system, to claim their sovereignty and not get in trouble, not put themselves at risk.
Yeah.
You have to have the knowledge. Knowledge literally empowers us. The Bible tells us that our tongues are sharper than a double-edged sword. So you have to learn to speak the law. That's what a lawyer is. One who is knowledgeable on the law. One who speaks the law is a law sayer. So what law do you want to study? I want to study God's law because that comes first. Without that, we don't have anything. And in fact, in some of the early constitutions, 1776 era, in one of them, it specifically states that, hey, if you don't claim that you're a creation of God and you have God-given rights, you don't have them. I was blown away. That was in the Constitution. And then what they're telling you, you better pick a side. You're either of God and with God, and you serve God and everything you do is in reverence to God, or you don't have these rights. So it's up to us to choose that path. But we have to, knowledge is power. It literally empowers us. And it's like going into battle, okay? If you're not trained to go into battle, what happens when you go into battle and you're not trained to go into battle? You're going to get your butt kicked pretty quick. The same thing with the double-edged sword. If you do not know how to wield that double-edged sword and you go into battle, what good does it do?
Mhm.
So knowledge is power. And once you gain the power, you have to learn how to wield that power following due process of law. What is the process that is due?
Yeah.
And we have to remain in honor. That's the key to all of this.
Amen.
Keep
Yeah.
your cool, because this is a psychological warfare. They want us to get all upset. They want us to freak out like they did with the kid down there in Utah and shot him. Shot him and
Yeah.
killed him. That was murder, flat out. That was murder. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Yeah.
But that's what they want. They sat there and antagonized him until he flinched or did something. Oh, gun, and shot him. Okay. And I literally just went through the same thing. Again, this is not the first time for me. Most of my whole entire record has to do with driving without privileges because I kept telling them, no, I'm just exercising my rights here. Well, now I figured it out. And now I'm coming on the charge. That's right. Because the maximum of law here is the defendant by pleading or exception becomes the plaintiff. And make no mistake, I have unsheathed my double-edged sword and I'm going into battle.
Amen.
And I'm taking it down. This code crap, the bar, it all needs to go away right now.
Well, and everything that has happened since what, 1881, is it, Kirk?
Yeah.
Everything since then has been under fraud anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so no sitting Congress, no sitting president, no statutes, none of it
That's right.
has strength of law.
Nope.
Now, to reverse that is a can of worms because people have been so conditioned that it's the law.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the first thing we have to do is to get people to understand what the law really is. And like Kirk said, it's God's law.
Absolutely.
That's the law we live by. The Constitution, as Kirk also well knows, is a limitation on government.
And
It
not
is a
the opposite.
contract from the people to limit government. It shall not do this or that. And to get people to understand that, we have to go into that same system that Kirk is fighting, into the judicial system that has been so corrupted, and get it set properly.
Yeah.
Kick all of the
Well, see,
out.
that's the thing is this is political power. So this is
Yep.
a political argument, not a judicial one. Judicial branch doesn't even have subject matter jurisdiction. See,
Well,
And that's what
we don't even comprehend how a Republican form of government works.
people
From
don't
the
even know
common
what
law-
subject matter jurisdiction means. So
Exactly.
how do they go in and stand and
So-
defend themselves? I mean, and I loved it when I heard Trump say that he was
Parliamentary.
going to do away with the Department of Education.
That's this
Education
book
does
right
not
here.
belong in the hands.
Yeah, Lex Parliamentary Americana. Elements of the law and practice of the legislative assemblies of the United States of America. This is the one they're hiding from us because this is the
Mhm.
common law,
That
or
is
also known
common.
as the common political law.
But even,
Right.
Lee, even I tell you, I've been trying to help Kirk, even try to get some attention, even from Perry Lake, concerning the controversial elections. There's no way. Even I'm knocking doors, I'm calling the GOPs, we have connections. Do you know what we hear? Crickets. What we're doing right now is not only an implosion of the financial system, we're going to see an implosion of jurisdiction as
Everything.
well, everything, economic, social, everything. And my question is, what's going to happen to all those people who have been, unfortunately, have become state nationals? What is going to happen when we actually become a republic? And we go back to inhabitants, we the people, and citizens. What happens to those people that have gone all the way out to claim themselves part of something that it was just an illusion? How do we repair that? Because it's going to be a shock.
Many will fall.
Well, here's the thing: is like, okay, all of that stuff goes away. So everybody who's done all this fancy paperwork and said that I'm an American state national, which doesn't exist anyways, but all under the guise of fraud, right? And fraud vitiates everything. So the corporation was already involuntary bankrupted by Trump, June of 2020. Now you got Heather Ann Tucci Giraffe in 2012, who already perfected her claims and terminated and foreclosed the corporation back in 2012. Okay. So there's a lot of stuff that's already happened that people are not aware of, taking down part of the Tri-City states and exposing the fraud that's going on. And this stuff takes time because this stuff has been built, over the last 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not talking something that was just done in the last 50 years or 100 years. No. This stuff's been in the making since 400 BC. Okay. This one world government, world domination, and all that stuff goes clear back to the Jesuits in 400 BC. Okay. It's that old. We're talking well over 2,000 years here, folks. So this stuff is not going to go down easy. There's too many people involved. There's too many tunnels, too much stuff going on for even the best of the military to go in and just take them out and shut it down. But we're seeing a lot of it going on right now with the banking system. Okay. Switching from the SWIFT system to the QFS, quantum financial system. Everything gets quantified. And I know a lot of people are still going, oh, we're going to be forced into digital currency and see. Well, that was the plan, but this is a different plan. And so people aren't aware of the plan to counter what they had planned. And what this quantum financial system does, it quantifies everything, and it's checking for fraud.
Yep.
And it's blockchain.
And it makes sure that this transaction is a legitimate transaction and it's not for child trafficking. You're not buying and selling organs and kids and men, women, and children. And, oh, where does this money come from? And where's it going? Oh, well, quantum banking will go, that's not a legitimate transaction. Denied. And so this effectually shuts them down. And then the other part is the way this is happening is it's catching all those bad transactions from its inception. Because they'll have everything, every last transaction of who did what, where, and when, where it went, where it came from. And they're using that to go after them, which is why part of the international banking systems has been going down because of the fraud per that executive order. You involved in serious human rights abuse and corruption, we're taking you down. But that's part of the International Monetary Fund system that was created. This world banking, one world banking, international banking. And, Alexander Hamilton pushed it twice, traitor that he was.
Yep.
He was
He's a banker's man.
Yep. But we are going to a decentralized system, and that's what the quantum financial system. By the way, an article just came out today that Ukraine, as of tomorrow, will be moving to the quantum financial system under SEP 04 and is going to be transacting now and be part of that ISO 20022. So guess what that means? No more, no more black markets going through. So this is the way they're catching all that funneling that they're trying to do. So the IBAN to IBAN is, guess what? Now you're screwed. So this just came in today. So there's a lot of development going on, which is exciting. But I'll tell you, I think that for most of us who have seen the bigger picture of everything It's just, I think we've hit the precipice several times. But anyways, so we keep losing Lee's image. I don't know what's going on with Zoom today. Lee, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
It's
The
the
thing
first
is, I
time.
think to stay on point, I think one of the things that would be wise, if we can be wise, is to start thinking about setting up some form of centers where the confused can come and get reprogrammed. They have to be reprogrammed. Okay. Those of us that have broken out of the matrix and see it for what it is, okay, we have to be the ones to help other people to come out of the matrix. In simple terms, if you notice, Trump talks, I think someone said it's fourth grade language is what he uses to speak to the people. We need to be able to speak on those terms. And this is why Brent's book, The American Sovereign, is so powerful, because like Kirk's, very knowledgeable. It's very complex. It's very convoluted, but when you can distill it down to those words, either you're free or you're not. That's all there is to it.
There,
And
it
once
is.
you determine that, then you can take it to the next step. But we are the leaders. We are the point of the spear. We are the first ones that have broken ground and are moving out there. And we need to consider how we can help our brethren who weren't ready to hear the message when we were. And I think that is our challenge now, because it is going to break apart. A house built on an unfirm foundation will fall. This house is about to fall. We need to build a firm foundation on truth and knowledge.
Here, here.
And I think that's the power and the value that we offer to people. That's what Freedom Bound International is based on. That's what Kirk is based on. We're all saying the same thing, but in different terms. And just like different languages, people can understand them differently. I can't understand. I speak Spanish. I don't understand it. Okay. Okay. So I need to speak in the language that people understand me and people understand Kirk. His level of knowledge will attract a different level of intelligence. But we have to understand that overall, people have been dumbed down.
Oh,
And very much so.
And to have compassion, grace, and mercy for them, as our Father has had compassion, grace, and mercy for us. And I'm with you completely, Kirk, that without our Savior, without emulating Yeshua, we've lost the battle. We shouldn't be talking.
That's right.
I do try to break this stuff down so grandma can understand it. So I've been accused of that many times. And that's actually how I got my start with Blog Talk Radio a year and a half prior to coming on Facebook. Because believe it or not, I was kind of a shy kind of guy when it come to putting my face out there and camera and that kind of stuff. But I've gotten over that a little bit. Mostly one because of knowledge. It has literally empowered me. I mean, I feel it. And you know, but we have to learn the proper words, proper diction, jurisdiction, because the words we do use put us under what? Juris, law. Juris is law, diction is the word. So jurisdiction is what body of law are you speaking? You're the law sayer here. So the words you're using, you're speaking these words, put you under what body of law? And it, like the example I gave before, the difference between parent and child, mother, father, son, daughter, and calling them our property. Boy, they really do not like that, because that jurisdiction is from the common law. And they don't have jurisdiction over the common law.
Exactly.
You know? They only have admiralty and maritime jurisdiction. Okay. And part of what they're actually doing is under the law of the air, ecclesiastical law, the souls and trusts. Okay, that's why it's on the birth certificate. They want your son or daughter's footprint is a soul print. They're stealing our souls. This is a satanic ritual by giving the soul up. And then they take it to the Vatican, right? And they even go crazy stuff like taking the placenta and using that is to steal the soul and all. It's just like these people are sick and demented people. Okay, they're pure Satanists. They really are. And so this goes back to what the Bible tells us that we wrestle not with principalities. It's a spiritual warfare, and it's all about right here. What's in our mind?
So
we have to learn how to speak these proper diction words. And so just like when we do our paperwork, right here, you got a prayer for relief. Some people out there will say, oh, we don't do motions, we make demands. I automatically know that they don't know the format of the paperwork, because this is the spiritual realm. We are spelling it out. We are casting our spell. So when another man reads our paperwork, it convicts their mind, right? And the prayer for relief, the verbiage is demand. The title of the heading is prayer for relief, but the defendant hereby demands this relief. We have the right to demand this. And they have a duty to perform to discharge the duties of their office and grant that relief when it is due, when it is proper before them. And this is something I picked up from Fred Kelly Grant. He's passed away a couple of years ago now. God rest his soul, 60 plus years in the bar community, and was a judge's clerk and all this stuff. And he wrote this book called Justice My Ass. And I learned from him that there are a lot of good judges out there, and that their hands are tied because things are not proper before them. And we got the record is created by the other side. Let's say you're the defendant, they're the plaintiff, and it applies no matter where you're at, family law, whatever. It's always the same. It's a game of tennis. Somebody serves you the ball to your side of the court, and did you hit the ball back? Did you respond? Well, no. That's a presumption in the record. And the referee, the judge, sitting on the outside of the court, looking down on the court, sees that the ball was hit to you, but there's nothing else in the record, so his hands are tied. He must assume that that is truth in the record. So we have to play this game of tennis and hit the ball back, right? And challenge it, like what I'm doing. See, I'm nailing them now with personal jurisdiction. Where is the proof that the state of Idaho, being a corporation, a fiction, have personal jurisdiction over man? This shuts down every single case.
That is interesting.
Wow.
Yes. Because first of all, back to Hale versus Hinkle and what we talked about before, creation, sovereign. We're dealing with this ideology that the state is the parent under Perrine's patriarchy. And I'm not talking family law stuff. I'm talking about the birth certificate, the artificial construct, the all capital letters name. They're claiming is a corporation. And that's the personal jurisdiction, the person. Okay. But when I come in and do the notice of special appearance, objecting to personal jurisdiction, and I say I am man, creation of God, of lawful age, of sound mind, one of the people of the territory of Idaho, because territory is landmass. State of Idaho is the fiction corporation. Now, that shifts the burden of proof to them. And you know what they respond with? Oh, Idaho code says all persons. Well, I could care less about your Idaho code. Okay, now I get to do a constitutionality challenge and challenge the Idaho code, which I've done a lot of research on this for Idaho stuff, lots of reading the Idaho session laws and finding where this change happened, where we went from legitimate statutes here in Idaho, which made it fairly easy for me because Idaho's Organic Act for the Territory of Idaho was was 1863. So it's right there at that time where things were getting ready to change. So we have what's called a Criminal Practice Act of 1864, a Civil Practice Act of 1864. There's all sorts of stuff in the first legislative session of the territory of Idaho. Well, proceed through there when I get to the 11th session, which is 1881. And I find this Code of Civil Procedure. And the very, very, very beginning of it, it says, the law regarding statutes being in derogation of the common law has to be strictly construed and blah, 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 doesn't apply here. And the code is the law. There's the evidence of where they fundamentally altered our form of government. And that is a subversion of law.
Yep.
So now I get to challenge that because I found that golden nugget. And then I've also found where, this is all the bar. I got this Peterson versus Peterson, Idaho Supreme Court case, 2014, Judge Heisman. The Idaho Code is not the law because the Code Commission has no legislative authority. And he lists out all these dates throughout history there for Idaho. All this, and he kind of goes just about 1900 there. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Let's go back just a little bit further. But what it says is that, this Code Commission that doesn't have any legislative authority is it. When you find it and you read it, you go, wait a minute, this is 7 members of the bar selected by the governor. And then this Code Commission selects 3 members of the bar to write the Idaho Code and publish them. But it's prima facie evidence of the law. What law? They're supposed to be the statutes. But I go and, I have a friend here who he actually helped me buy a lot of these Idaho session law books. And I open them up. What does it say? Being enacted by the legislature of the state of Idaho to amend the Idaho Code. Excuse me? Where's the statute that you're supposedly compiling? Because, it's not a codification of the statutes. But see, statutes are for government civil conduct. That's supposed to control them. Back to Hale versus Henkel. That's the laws of its creation. The statute creates. Because that's the sovereign body politic. The sovereign having the power to create what? Corporations, either public or private. So that's why the legislature has the authority to do an investigation to see if that corporation has exceeded the laws of its creation. That's what Hale versus Henkel's talking about. And previous to that is that there's a clear distinction between a corporation and an individual, which leads to lack of personal jurisdiction over man, because even if individual, the state cannot bring a suit against an individual because our rights are long antecedent to the formation of the state, and that we owe no duty to the state to open up our books and papers, and even to our neighbors to divulge our business. So wait a minute, but a corporation is a creature of the state. So it goes back to, are you a creation of God or are you a creation of the state? Do you know the difference? And to know the difference is to say no to the difference. No. I ain't, That's all fraud. I don't consent. I am man, creation of God. Prove it. And they can't. And they know they can't. Now they're really scrambling over here with the judge is like reading my paperwork and he's like, I see you're very passionate and you're very well studied. And I'm like, yeah. And you need to quit exceeding your authority because there is no jurisdiction here. And I put him in his place several times now. And he's like, but he's still trying, right? But I call him out on it because I know the game now. And unless you prove in writing by the moving party, not the judge, he ain't got no authority, none. And so you have to know this and don't let them get to you and don't let them railroad you. Call them out on it. And again, they play the game, especially what I call in the first court that we go into is the de facto kangaroo courts. They don't recognize rights. Right? Because we only have privileges, says the king. Well, I don't play that game. I'm going to play my game. I'm going to follow the rules of the common law, and I'm going to put you on notice, and I'm going to afford you the opportunity to respond. And then I'm going to call you out on what you did respond with that's not proper and call you a fraudster. And I'm creating my record. Go ahead. You want to play the game of you're going to do whatever you want to do, catch you if you can? Okay. I'm not going to let you play this psychological game with me and get me all fired up and get all angry and that kind of stuff, which I used to, until I realized that we've all been taught wrong, and we should have compassion for our fellow man and go, wait a minute, we've all been taught wrong. So let's give them all the benefit of the doubt. Let's put it in writing, cast our spell, let them read it so that they can comprehend what we think and what we know. But if you don't have the knowledge, how are you going to write the paperwork?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yep. So let's go back to the simple question is, you're such a wealth of knowledge, and I want to go to other rabbit holes, and I can't with you, Kirk. We're tight in time, but let's wrap this thing up. Would you, I mean, first of all, I want to say I cannot wait for those 80 million enactments to go down the drain when we finally get our republic. Number two, how we're going to take our republic. I think that's another show that we should talk about, which is actually repopulating according to way before even the Mayflower. There's a process there that you are very well knowledgeable about, which is assemblies. And not all assemblies are good in this country too. There's another catch-22 where people are just falling into the traps. But, we're seeing, let's go to the actual times right now. We're seeing implosions of everything. Do you think it's worth right now to still pursue sovereignty, to become a sovereign man or woman at this time? Or do we just play the game, set aside, know that there's a psyop going on militarily, there's an effort, a concerted effort to retake our republic, to go back to common law? Do we go through all that trouble, or do we just, what would you do? Because things are heating up.
Knowing some of the things that's been going on for well over a year now, as of technically speaking, October of 2021, it's almost like, do I really want people, teach people how to do all this stuff, because it's dealing with the fraud, and it's going to be going away. And this is where I feel bad for those that have done the national change stuff, because what are you going to do? What are you going to cite for law when the code goes away? United States Code goes away. Code of Federal Regulations goes away. Uniform Commercial Code goes away. Your state code goes away. It no longer exists. What are you going to cite as the law? So this is where I'm at. It's like, we just need to teach people the law. So what's the real law? First, it's God's law. It's the laws of nature. And the first fundamental principles of the laws of nature is man is to be free, as opposed to slavery, and independent from all things created by his fellow man. And he is not, unless he is bound by it. He gives his own consent. And that's right in the preliminaries of the laws of nations, part of the book 1, preliminaries, section 1, section 4. So you grasp these fundamental principles. That means that I'm free as opposed to slave, and I'm independent of the Constitution and any of the statutes or anything, whatever code, whatever regulations, whatever you want to call it. I'm independent of that because I'm not bound by it. So this is where you gain your sovereignty. It's not so much as do anything. We already have it. It's already there. We just have to claim it and exercise it, and then learn how to effectively defend it. That's the key.
Lee?
This to me is a very, very personal and private decision each person has to make for themselves. The system is definitely going to change. The concept of sovereignty, I believe, needs to be instilled now, so that when the confusion comes upon us, that we can stand and say, I know who I am. I am sovereign. And I will stand in sovereignty against the controls they will try to implement on us, because they will. That's the nature of government, is to control. So I gave up trying to convert people a long time ago because it doesn't work. What I can do is stand and share with them my experience as being sovereign, the fact that I literally assisted in getting an IRS agent either reassigned or fired, or he quit after he raided our property, because I stood on what I believe in. And to teach people that love, compassion, knowledge, as Kirk said, those are the keys. And when you stand on those principles, the rest of it will fall in line. If becoming sovereign is in your heart, do it. Because regardless of what changes around you, you will know who you are. If you need the cotton batten lifestyle of being government property, then that's what you have to do. That's what you will do. And no matter what anybody says, that's what you will continue to do. And heaven help you, because you won't know what or who you are when the system falls. Mm-hmm. So I would encourage people to make your stand and know who you are. And stand on that rock with your Bible in one hand and your double-edged sword in the other. Mm-hmm. And then let the Lord take care of the rest, because trust me, he will.
Amen to that.
Amen. Absolutely.